Officially, the history of PlayStation 4 began on the 31st of Jan 2013 with this beautiful abstract montage of flashing shapes. In reality, the PlayStation 4 story started as early as 2008, 2 years after the launch of PlayStation 3. Sony were determined to learn from past mistakes after PS3's delayed launch handed Microsoft's powerful yet developer-friendly console a 10 million unit head start.
By 2008, I know that seems like a long time ago, but by 2008 we were already in very heavy design work for PlayStation 4.
Sony's grand folly was PlayStation 3's expensive, complicated cell chip architecture, which delayed production and hampered cross-platform game development.
It all comes down to processing power.
Over the following years, rumours swirled of a PC-style console which was going to use familiar off-the-shelf processors and components known in development circles as Orbis. Eventually, those flashing shapes squirreled into a date, the 20th of February 2013, and the world waited for the unveiling of PlayStation 4. At a New York event called PlayStation Meeting, Sony's Andrew House got to talk earnestly about the future.
Today marks a moment of truth and a bold step forward for PlayStation as a company, as creators and innovators, and as industry leaders.
We also got to meet PlayStation 4's lead architect, Mark Cerny, who explained his vision with a passion that was both refreshing and, in truth, vaguely terrifying.
The cross-disciplinary team that we assembled had several additional goals.
Sony embraced the indie community and open development like never before, even if this section of PlayStation 4's unveiling was a little too soft jazz and cigarettes for our liking.
I really don't know what I'm going to do to follow up after all those explosions.
In 1999, I took part in a political rally and got tear-gassed by the cops.
But I mean, seriously, it's just amazing to be able to get that emotion in the eyes. It's really hard.
We even got to see our first PlayStation 4 game called, Thingy, the Blocks, that fella. Anyway, it left a big impression on our short-lived next-gen show, The League of Next Gentlemen.
The response was quite muted to it. I think until you mentioned we were going to be talking about an actor that I'd forgotten it existed, which probably isn't your average marketeer's dream.
Did PlayStation 4's initial games impress? Yes, says CVG's Tim Clark.
Given that we went into the presentation thinking, will we even see any games at all? We saw loads of games really, and you know, it's easy to go. I'm sure there'll be people out there going, well, where was Naughty Dog and where was Last Guardian and stuff like that. The truth is, you know, those guys are going to be making games. They've got 70 development partners out there making games right now. You're never going to see it all on the first night. You know, they're going to save stuff for E3. They're going to show you the machine at E3, I'm sure. They're going to probably talk about price further down the line. So I thought it was really exciting, you know, personally.
Sony had almost successfully reinvented themselves, though old problems remained, as we noted on CVG's post-PlayStation reveal reaction show.
Not being Sony in terms of what they were delivering, but being classically Sony in terms of the way it was delivered. And like, you know, getting all the cues wrong, the pacing was off, bringing out Robo-Men, even like when the suits came out, you know, with the loose collars and then made like an ad-lib joke, but it was worse than some of the jokes I've made.
It was an absolute sea of like open collar shirts, blue blazers and jeans, wasn't it?
Next up, E3, the world's biggest game show. By now, Xbox One was floundering under the weight of its confusing always online policy and its bizarre used game restrictions. But Sony got off to a good start by waving a PlayStation 4 around, before their conference descended into a meaningless slather of jibber-jabber about the SEN and lots of stuff that people don't especially care about. In brutal truth, it looked like Sony were on the verge of missing the biggest open goal since Diana Ross's penalty at the 1994 World Cup, until Jack Tretton took the stage about an hour in and everything changed.
PlayStation 4 won't impose any new restrictions on the use of PS4 gamers.
In a shuddering display of confidence, wallop! Sony targeted Xbox's weak spot and brought the pain. The crowd went mental in a way I've never seen in 13 years of games journalism. So Sony won E3, and only weeks later Microsoft were forced to respond with a retraction, just as we predicted.
Xbox have got a really tough choice where
You know, they either continue on the path they're on and further clarify a failing policy, or, you know, they just go, do you know what? And even this is going to be embarrassing. The best thing they can do is probably to bin it off. But they can come back on the, you know, the always on, the every 24 hours check-in, the ability to trade used games. I mean, straight away we saw that video that Sony had produced, the 20-second video of, like, how to exchange a game with a friend. It's just simple and devastating. It's just, here's my game, give it to you. The end. Onwards to the big European game show Gamescom, which resembled a kind of indie disco, as Sony doubled down on creativity and reminded everyone what that dusty block was hiding in your lounge. Yes, it's called a PS Vita. Shuei Yoshida even demoed PS4's menu screen. It wasn't all roses for Sony, and I don't just mean the chocolate type. Ubisoft's much anticipated Watch Dogs slipped from the launch lineup, and Drive Club skidded metaphorically into the next year like a skiddy car thing. Sony even published a Q&A saying PlayStation 4 wouldn't run Blu-rays on day one. No way! Without a patch. A patch! What next? And heavens forbid it wouldn't support MP3s, CDs or any of the other preeminent music mediums from the late 80s or the mid 90s. So here we are, PlayStation 4 is about to launch in the US, and in Europe and Australia, of course we're last, on the 29th of November. If you like this video, please click the like button and subscribe for more great daily PS4 videos just like this, including opinion, analysis and more tech tip videos than you can shake a PS Move controller at.